Good morning and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at the pitching for today, the 28th of July. It is Monday. We do have a 12-game main slate ahead of us this evening. Pretty large slate. Nothing to worry about from a weather standpoint, I do not believe. Some slight rain chances in Minnesota. Most places, temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. A couple of West Coast games in the 60s. Definitely interesting out there. Probably pretty solid spots for pitching, to be honest. And then we do see a series return to Sacramento, where obviously home runs happen. This is a first look at the pitching on the slate. And I will be looking at DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action is. If you do play on FanDuel, I'll cut my pool in half or so. Pricing isn't quite as tight. You don't have to be as creative. It allows you to get the stacks you want with an upper tier-ish pitcher. Now, having said all that, there are a decent number of upper tier-ish pitchers on this particular slate. It's going to be very interesting to build a pitcher pool. Just because we have so many options among the expensive range. And I do have some questions about the quote-unquote value range on this particular slate. So it's very interesting because just trying to look at it. I mean, Philadelphia, for an example, super expensive main stack option. But you know, how are we going to get them into builds with a couple of strong pitchers? I'm not necessarily sure right now. Obviously, this is an initial look, like I mentioned, so I haven't been able to play around with combinations to get an idea, but it makes it really interesting as far as construction goes this evening. With that said, let's just jump into a game-by-game look at which guys are going to make up my pitching pool. Or at least guys that we're going to consider for the pitching pool this evening. Tampa Bay and the Yankees. Now, Tampa Bay has struggled on the road. Singer absolutely dominated them yesterday. Schlittler, somebody that's very intriguing. I like his stuff. He's a volatile guy. Young guy, that is a worry. But I do like the upside he offers. Don't obviously love the ballpark for pitching, but Tampa Bay on the road has struggled enough that I think Schlittler is certainly intriguing. Other side of things, Drew Rasmussen. They did let him go closer to a traditional start last time out, but still just 75 pitches. They were limiting him to kind of control his innings this season after coming back from, I think it was his third surgery. Third major elbow surgery. So I'm just not sure what to expect. If we find out that he's going to throw 80 to 90 pitches for whatever reason, he's definitely in play against the Yankees without Judge. But for right now, I think there's just too many question marks for me, so I'm just not going to utilize him on this slate. Dodgers, Reds, Yamamoto is certainly somebody we want to utilize most times. 26 plus fantasy points in 3 out of his last 5 starts. 21 plus in 4 out of 5. Does have some volatility for sure. Cincinnati has some explosive guys, but Yamamoto's been dynamite on the road, and there are plenty of strikeouts in the Cincinnati lineup. So I do want to utilize Yamamoto. The other side, Chase Burns, super volatile. Got absolutely lit up by Boston. Looked pretty good against New York in his debut, but then kind of struggled a little bit. Does seem like he is going to have a home run issue at the major league level. That can happen a lot with big-time strikeout arms. They tend to live up in the zone, and their high velo, max delivery types can lose location and make mistakes. With that said, the Dodgers lineup has not been producing a ton. It is a great spot for the Dodgers for upside, but also I think it's a pretty solid spot for Chase Burns. 10 strikeouts in each of his last 2 starts. One of those against Colorado, who we pick on with almost any pitcher, but still, I think Chase Burns is somebody we want to include in our pool just because of his upside. Curious what his ownership projection is right now. Just under 7%. A pretty low number for me. Drew Rasmussen at 9%. Kind of shocking. Not somebody I want to utilize like I mentioned. But both pitchers in this game, despite it being a great ballpark for hitting, are guys that I want to utilize this evening. Philly and the White Sox. I'm not using Davis Martin against the Phillies. I'll just pass. Christopher Sanchez, definitely somebody I want to utilize. Coming off of 106 pitches, gets an extra day of rest. He's had some extra rest recently. Obviously love the upside. The White Sox have been scoring runs. I don't believe they've been striking out all that much either. So that's obviously a concern, but still, yeah, over the last 3, just over 6 per game. Their home strikeout numbers decently low. In top half as far as the fewest, but obviously Christopher Sanchez, one of those guys that I would consider fairly matchup proof just because he's so good. He's allowed 1 run per game in each of his last 6 starts, 2 or less in every start since the middle of May, so over 2 months. Christopher Sanchez, definitely somebody we want to utilize. 10.5K is a hefty price tag to pay for him, especially considering, he's the second most expensive pitcher on the slate. With that said, I think he is worth it. I don't know that he has the same kind of ceiling as somebody like Valdez, maybe. I don't know. Maybe when I look at these names and their spots, I don't know that they have massive ceilings. I just think they're all strong plays. Boston, Minnesota. Talked about potential some weather there, plus the pitchers. Not really guys that I want to utilize. Woods Richardson does show some ability once in a while, but I just have no desire to use him at this point. And Fitz, no thank you. Milwaukee and Chicago. Definitely 2 guys I want to utilize. Mizorowski, just 64 pitches his last time out. I'm not sure what their plans are. Apparently he knew that there would be a pitch count on that last one. He's 7 innings away from being at his most professional innings pitched in the season. So it's definitely something we need to pay attention to. But the biggest thing is, the Brewers do need to win games, too. They can't drain their bullpen in the second half of the season going into the postseason. So I don't expect him to be limited to, 60, 65 pitches every time out. Maybe that limitation is enough for us to not go super heavy on Mizorowski. We have him projected under 3% owned. Now, if that really is the case, I'll gladly just take 10%, be 4 times the field, and not be overexposed. On the other side, Matthew Boyd's been phenomenal. One of the best pitchers in all of baseball this season. Takes a bit of a hit on the road, but still, I'm very interested in him, the way that he's been pitching. Milwaukee's offense can get it done. They've cooled off a little bit against the Marlins over the weekend, but I think Boyd is certainly in play at 8,700 for us this evening. Atlanta, Kansas City, definitely not using Rich Hill. Not that I'm overly concerned about the Atlanta offense any longer, but I just don't really know what Rich Hill has to offer from an upside standpoint at, I mentioned 97 years old, I think, in the last video. I still contend that he's closer to 97 than he is to 45, but that's for another day. Other side, Spencer Strider. We know there's plenty of upside. The one worry here is Kansas City not known as a huge strikeout squad. And Strider, 3+ walks in 5 of his last 6 starts. I hate starting pitchers that walk guys. Kansas City, second fewest strikeouts per game on the season. A slight uptick, barely, over the last 3. Their numbers at home, ridiculously low as well. Just not the best of strikeout spots for Spencer Strider. Now, with that said, obviously, I think Strider is one of those guys that can probably strike out just about anybody. So he's going to be in play for me, but I don't feel super happy about, having to go. I mean, I guess I can go 20 to 25% and be okay. If he was going to be somebody that was 30% in the spot, it actually might be a spot to fade him and hope, but I will sprinkle in some Strider. Miami and St. Louis. Edward Cabrera has had a couple of strong starts recently, at least since the beginning of July. I love the ability and the upside. He's a little bit behind Yuri Perez in my like of Marlins pitchers. But with that said, I'm interested in him. Problem is that St. Louis doesn't strike out all that much. So he might not make my pool, but he's at least in consideration at this point. Washington, Houston. Framber Valdez, somebody that I'm just plugging and playing quite often, especially when he's at home. His numbers when at home, absolutely ridiculous. I thought he was going to absolutely dominate Arizona. Just didn't rack up strikeouts. Pretty solid overall. Did get the win in just 21 fantasy points, but still, Framber Valdez, somebody that I gladly rely on, especially when he's at home, especially against a Washington lineup where the most dangerous hitters are left-handed. So I'm going to go there. No interest in Brad Lord at this point. Texas and the Angels. Kochanowicz, somebody that's randomly had decent starts, but most of the time they're just bad. 2 starts against Texas, he's been absolutely lit up. 16 hits allowed, 4 walks, 20 base runners, and 7 1/3. Just absolutely destroyed. Just 1 home run, but still, he's been bad. Texas bat certainly in play. DeGrom on the other side. 1 start against the Angels. Didn't rack up strikeouts. Kind of struggled a little bit overall. His overall numbers, actually, to me, have been more impressive on the road. His ERA is lower at home, but still, average against whip. Strikeout numbers are all stronger when on the road. And the Angels, as we know, strike out plenty. Second most in baseball. 10 per game over the last 3. One of the worst, I think, at home. Yeah, they are the worst home team in terms of strikeouts in all of baseball. DeGrom, probably that guy at the top that most people want to rely on. And we see it here at a 30% ownership projection. Mets, San Diego. 2 guys that I think are going to be in play. I don't really want to use Montas, other than that this ballpark is nice and it is a little cooler. The problem, away he's been terrible, and San Diego doesn't strike out all that much. Dylan Cease, at home has been his best spot. He is volatile. That's the one big thing here. He can't give up home runs. The Mets' overall offense struggled enough that I think Dylan Cease has plenty of upside. So I love the $9,200 price tag on him, just because of that upside for GPPs. We have him fairly high owned at 22%, which I don't necessarily love, but Cease is definitely somebody I want to utilize. Keller versus Wisenhunt, 2 guys that I want to use. Wisenhunt getting the call up. Hasn't shown big K numbers this season. I want to dig into more of his minor league numbers, but he's taking on Pittsburgh in a big pitcher's ballpark. Hard to not like him. Mitch Keller, pitching in the same ballpark, has been phenomenal on the road. A lot of talks about him being on the trade block, so we do have to pay attention there, but 2 pitchers that I absolutely want to use tonight. Last game, I don't know if I'm going to use Castillo. I don't like him on the road. He gives up a ton of hits, and obviously don't love pitching in this ballpark. I'm going to dig into this game a little bit more, but right now I don't want to have any pitching in Sacramento. But there we have it. There's our first look at pitching. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc., I will put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's R-A-Z, for 10% off monthly. And there will be a link for our merch store here. You can check out my Raz GPT hoodie. Again, a link below in the description. And as always, best of luck, everybody.